Our theme for this year is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And our focus this month, for the month of December, is Journey of Becoming. The title of our talk today is Surrender is Action. Doesn't that sound fascinating? And it will be given by our wonderful spiritual director, Charlene Banks. So it's time to officially begin our service. We're so glad that you joined us today. Sit back and relax as we open up our sacred space. Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be of service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly, and so it is. I always enjoy hearing a reminder of our 5 pillars. Please feel free to add to the chat any comments or prayer requests and celebrations that you would like us to include later in our service when we provide our community spiritual mind treatment, which is a form of affirmative prayer. And now we will move into our time of meditation with Charlene. There's no sound, Charlene.
Well, thank you. I had to turn on my microphone. Good morning. I'll say all that again. Welcome to December, and just thank you everybody for just joining me this morning for our wonderful time that we as a community sit and just enter into that space of oneness, of divinity, just reminding us who we really are, especially this time of year when things can be so busy. So join me in meditation. Just taking a nice deep cleansing breath. Closing our eyes if you're comfortable. And just relaxing into this moment. For whatever came before this moment, and whatever is waiting after this moment, They don't exist. It's only now. This is the now. So breathing in and exhaling. Each breath being the current moment, the right now moment that we focus on. We don't think about the breath 5 minutes ago. We don't think about the breath we plan in 10 minutes. Right now. Right here, right now. Deeper we breathe, the deeper we go into our awareness of this moment. Allowing the sound of the bells, the bowls, to just deepen our awareness into this moment. So with this awareness of this moment, as we're breathing in and out, I have turned down the sound of the bowls in case it's hard to hear. But just knowing that this is the moment, this is the now moment where life, where the universal presence is powerful, it is life itself right here, right now. We, in our minds, tend to cling to the past or plan on the future, both actions which take us out of this very moment. The only power we have is right now. So just noticing every sense in your body right now, whether that's, are you relaxed? How is your skin? Is it prickly because of cool weather? Is it warm, a little moist because of heat? What's happening in your body? What's happening in your diaphragm as you inhale? It expands and you exhale. It releases. So just bringing our awareness for the next few minutes to every sensation in our bodies. As I'm quiet, I'll raise the sound a bit more. Just really be aware. Everything around you, in you. So with this awareness of this present moment, we just are so grateful to be enriched by this meditative practice that we share as a community. And in our mind's eye, we just simply reach out to the other individuals that are on this planet, just allowing the connection that is already there to be foremost in our minds. We are all one. We are all having an inner experience while having that outer experience. And it is that dance between the inner and the outer that we respect and that we cultivate and that we have compassion for in each and every one of the souls, human and inhuman, that embody this planet, and that as Mother Earth, as Gaia is our host, is our benefactor, we take care of her, we take care of one another, and we love all. And so with this feeling tone of love, of connection, of care, and of being present in the moment, I simply release into the law our awareness of this moment, knowing that it follows us into the very next things that we do, and we can always return to this place at any time. And so I invite you to wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers and allow yourself to re-enter into this present moment in the room as we welcome Leah, who is going to be our live music for today. Yay!
Good morning for those of us who are experiencing morning now. This is a song, I'm going to put it in the chat. It's actually two songs. I've mashed up, as they call it. And if you're familiar and you'd like to sing along, I'd certainly like to invite you to do that. Well, I thought I was going to put them in the chat, and Zoom says, no, maybe you're not. Let's see if I can convince Zoom. There you go, a little bit at a time. These are songs that I'm sure we're all familiar with, so please do sing with me if you'd like. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. We let the light wash over us. We let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may feel parted, there is still a chance that they may see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. And when the shines on me, yeah. It shines on through tomorrow. Let it be. I wake up to the sound of music as Mother Mary sings to me. Sweet, sweet words of wisdom. Let it be. 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 Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be. We let the truth wash over us. We let it be.
Whew, that was amazing. I was here with my lighter. Oh, so good. Thank you, Leah. It's so good to have you in person. So, letting it be. And I love the way we took the older song, Let It Be, and then we let the love wash over us. That just reminds me of being in Agape and just singing that song and just being connected with the people around me. And so I love that you started the energy that way because, wow. Because it is about letting it be. Because, you know, the whole topic, surrender is action. I mean, I love that because when we think about surrender, I don't know about you, but before I became more spiritually minded, I thought that surrender meant that I had to give up. Just give up. And that means show the white flag and say, okay, I'm done, you win. And it kind of is that, but it kind of isn't that. So it's all about who the you is that just won, right? You say, okay, you win. Like, think about it. How many of us have this thing that Eckhart Tolle, this book, Eckhart Tolle, he goes, how many of you have this voice in your mind, this chatter in your brain that is, for a while, you just start thinking that's who you are. It's this talk. He says the voice belongs to your conditioned mind. And Eckhart, when he wrote this book, The Power of Now, he wrote it because he was that person who had that shattered mind. And many of us call it neuroses, where your psyche is telling you all your feelings, all your thoughts. You've got a narrative going on in your brain, and you're experiencing your thoughts about everything. Obviously, we all are going to do that. No one experiences anything directly. They experience their thoughts about it. But when it gets to be to the level of maybe a little bit neurotic is when your thoughts are dominating the experience and it's not helpful things that you're thinking. That's when it gets a little weird. So he says that he said that what got him, he woke up one night and noticed he was saying this to himself: I cannot live with myself any longer. Imagine that for a second. You know, that you are so worried and thinking and anxious and everything's a problem that you just say to yourself, I cannot live with myself any longer. This was the thought, he says, that kept repeating itself in my mind. Then suddenly I became aware of what a peculiar thought it was. Am I one or two? If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me. The I and the self that I cannot live with. He says, maybe, he thought, only one of them is real. And so now he's on to something. Because when he says later in his book, the voice that he couldn't any longer live with belongs to our unconditioned mind, which is a result of all of our past history, as well as the collective cultural mindset that we inherited. So we see and judge the present through the eyes of the past and get a totally distorted view of all of it, the present and the past. It's not uncommon for the voice to be a person's own worst enemy. Many people live with a tormentor in their head that continuously attacks and punishes them and drains them of vital energy. It is the cause of untold misery and unhappiness, as well as of disease. So we're thinking now, I know I've been there, haven't you? Where you know better, but just like that tooth that just kind of bothers you and your tongue just heads over and starts still pokes at it. You know it hurts. Why is your tongue still poking at it? It's because, I don't know, that's how we are until you stop. So that's the white flag I'm talking about. Yes, surrender, give up. You win, but who's the you that wins? Well, it's the higher self that wins. When you give up all the chatter of the, I can do mine. It's probably not going to be pretty, but it's called the stream of consciousness, this thing that just keeps going and going and going and going and going and going and going. And you can go to sleep. Then it turns into dreams that are going and going and going and going and going. And then you wake up, still me, and it's going and going and going. And if you've ever been through trauma, the thing about sleep is that when you go to sleep in the midst of trying to go through something very grieving, some trauma, some traumatic thing, you'll wake up in the morning and there'll be that moment between being asleep and being awake when you forgot for a second that you were in the middle of a traumatic experience. And for me, the most trauma I've had, thank God so far, is just a big breakup, And so it's devastating, I'm walking around, I can't believe, even if I initiated the breakup, it hurts. And I go to sleep and I'm dreaming and it's not me anymore. Now I'm flying through the wilderness or something. And then I wake up and then there's that one moment, there's a gap between me and the trauma that I'm going through. And it's like peaceful. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. And then you wake up, so you're like, wow, this is peaceful. This is great. Wasn't I supposed to be worried? That's right. And then all of the trauma comes back. Oh, I'm depressed. I'm sad. But there's a moment when it wasn't that wasn't true. And that's that little gap that we go for. That's that little true you. Who we really are is not what we're going through or the feelings or the thoughts or the worry and the angst. It's not the memories of what happened before, or for me, the loss of some perfect future that I would have had with this person who I chose to break up with. There's none of that. All that's there is me and my big self, the big I, the big S, the big self that just is beyond all this, has never been hurt or harmed, and is awesome and loves me and is me. And then little S comes on in. Yep, but what about that thing? And what about that? Well, yeah, that's right. And my whole posture changes. So the goal is to take that gap that is not affected by the past, cultural things that are coming in and whatever conditioning we've been subject to, and not worried about the future and what might be coming, that little gap of who we really are, and make it bigger. Make that more of what our real experience is from day to day. And how do we do that? Well, of course, it's meditation. But meditation, I don't want to give that too much heft here, because we don't have time to go into the mountains and meditate 12 out of 24 hours in a day. What we need is a micro practical thing that we can do in every moment and just be aware of in every moment. Because it's kind of like working out. It's kind of like coming up with a plan to be healthy or to get physically fit. It's a big thing, but if you make it too big, you'll never start. If it has to be perfect, you'll never get started. But if we make baby steps and do a little bit different each day, eat a little better if that's your goal, or do a little bit of a walk if that's your goal. Every day with baby steps, we can bring more and more of it into our lives. So meditation, absolutely, and during the day, micro hits. So here's something that Deepak Chopra talks about. Let's see. We could share without messing it up. When you become defensive, now let's just say here you are in a day of your life, and you've already done your meditation in the morning and everything, but here you are in the middle of something. In that something, when you become defensive, you blame others and do not accept and surrender to the moment, your life meets resistance. If you force the situation, the resistance will only increase. Isn't that interesting? Don't stand rigid like a tall oak that cracks and collapses in the storm. Be flexible like a reed that bends with the storm and survives. We're talking about your day-to-day going through life. Are you surrendered, or are you hell-bent on your idea of what it should look like? Surrender is action. We don't want to become defensive. So let me take that off, that I have something that I was thinking about, a couple of things, and see the time, we're doing good with time. One small thing I learned years ago when I was still into practicing Tai Chi is I went on this retreat, and in the retreat, they taught you a movement called push hands. It's called push hands, I guess, because you put your hands on the other person and you get a wide stance and you're pushing them. You're pushing them on their shoulders and you're pushing them on their hip. Your goal is to get them to topple over, and whoever topples over first loses. And so, but the idea is to stay loose and stay rooted. And I'm in the middle of this class and I'm thinking, wow, this kind of, it pertains to life. And they were like, duh, that's why you're doing it. So the idea is, though, that if you were stiff and used a lot of resistance in your stance, somebody could just come and boop, push you right over. Because your stiffness, physics-like, right, it caused your whole body to behave as one like wall, and it's easy to push over. But when we're loose and flexible, somebody pushes my arm, I just kind of go with the flow. I go with the force of energy, deflecting it. And then when they push me this side, I deflect it that way. I'm rooted because I'm in a wide stance, hip width apart, so and forth. Bend my knees, rooted. And even when they push my hip, I just kind of go with. I just let my hip go with the direction of their push. They can't topple me. Even if the pushes start to come faster, well, it looks more like a dance, doesn't it? I'm still not falling over. But the minute I start to tense up, they push me, I'm down. It's so cool. And I started thinking, that's why palm trees stay up, like at the end of a storm. When you see a big storm comes and the palm trees are like touching the ground with their palm fronds, which may come out. But at the end of the storm, they're like, boop, I'm back up. But the oak tree, down for the count. Okay? Because that rigidness, while it looks strong and powerful, dude, you're easy to push over. But that tall, sort of wiry thing known as the palm tree, it's built for that. It's even got like little joints that just kind of go. And I started looking at life like that. Do I want to be rigid? It's my way or the highway? I'm going to be disappointed a lot. Or do I want to be flexible? If that's what you want, go for it. Or, it's fine to be flexible with other people's lives, but when they're trying to do things with your life, that's where I get the most kind of pushback. So this other book I'm reading, it's by Michael Singer, and it's called The Surrender Experiment. So this book is pretty good, and I could put the link in the chat. So The Surrender Experiment. This guy has a similar experience to Eckhart Tolle. He says, 22 years old in Florida in the, I think, 60s at the time. And he was in the middle of a conversation with somebody, and there was an awkward silence. And he thought, I've got to fill up the silence. Should I say this? Should I say that? I could talk about the weather. But then something in him made him notice that he was thinking those thoughts. Similar to Eckhart Tolle, where he says, who is the I that can't live with me anymore? Are there two of me? How can I not live with me? Well, who are the two of us? This same person, Michael Singer, was like, I notice that I am trying to fill up this space with thoughts and with questions and with conversation. What? And he just kept watching. And he kept saying, look, now I'm thinking this thought, and now I'm thinking that thought. And so what he ended up saying out loud was, have you noticed there's like a voice running in your head all the time? And the other guy was like, yeah, dude, I totally noticed that. And so he was onto something. And he said that that was the small little shift in his life that started him being super curious about what is this thought stream, just stream of thought, just rolling through, always having a commentary on something. But he got to the point where he was sick of it and he kept trying to shut it up. He says, I don't know what this voice is, but how can I get it to shut up? He just didn't want it anymore. He wanted nothing to do with the ongoing chatter. So further in his life, he found himself on different meditation journeys, and he was really into meditation at, a couple of years later, 20 years later maybe. And he did notice something. He had a dream. He had a lucid dream. And those of you who are in the room from the dream group, you know how dreams can inform us. He said that he dreamed that he was going into a cave with a light. And it was so dark, but he kept going. He wanted to go deeper. He wanted to know. So he went further and further into the cave. And the air started getting thinner. And he goes further and further into the cave, and he can hardly breathe. But he still wants to know more, so he's going further and further. Far at the end of the cave, there was a light. And even though he could barely breathe in his dream, he went toward that light and found that the light was really love. And he stood there basking in the light. And then he thought, I'm going to go up to where the light's coming from. He started climbing and found that there was a metal grate. He couldn't get out of the cave. There was no way out. And so he said in his dream, he said, that's fine, turned around, picked up his torch. And he said, as he awoke, he said, must be another way. And so then he woke up and he said, that dream, although I don't remember my dreams, he says, that was profound. There must be another way. And then it dawned on him that over the years he had been taking that thought stream psyche of his and setting it aside and telling it to shut up. He said in his mind, he set that self of him down and closed the door and said, no. And he said that that's not the way. There's got to be a better way, for the psyche was not given to us for us to shut it out, hate it, remove it from ourselves. It just creates more conflict inside ourselves. And now we're projecting. You know what happens when you deny a part of yourself. Let's be real. We start projecting it on everybody else, and it becomes their problem. So we don't want to deny ourselves. Our psyche's here because it's supposed to be here. It just doesn't need to, reign over us all the time. So he decided, the psyche, it's a person too. I've got thoughts, I've got feelings, I've got hopes, and I've got fears. Let's not deny that in myself. So that was kind of like the metal grate, that you can't deny that part of yourself and still become whole or realize your wholeness. So he said, well, what's part of me is part of me, and included that small self, the little s, in with the big S. And there are times when we have to, we have to live in this life. We have to get up and go over there and wash the dishes and go over here and do these things. But what presence do we bring to it? We get to guide. The higher self gets to guide the lower self. It does not get to obliterate it and put it aside. And so I thought that was really, really interesting about that we all have parts of ourselves that we'd love to enhance and other parts of us that we're not so great at. But isn't that part of our journey? In fact, here is another quote. Just a second. Okay. Why? Because there's a pattern of God behind our personality. It is seeking unique expression through it. And to this we should surrender everything we are, for this surrender will not lead us away from reality. It's not an escape but a revelation and an instrumentation of something greater than we appear to be. So think about this. There's a pattern of God behind our personality with the little s. There's a pattern of God behind that. And yes, it is who we are, and it's a unique expression of the divine. So why would I sit it aside and say, shut up? No. But this, the pattern of who we are, that pattern behind it is who we surrender to. And that will help us be even more and more ourselves. And we're not escaping at all. We're not escaping. We're actually embracing who we are and then looking for that pattern behind it. And of course, that means choosing. If there's something that we're experiencing that's not to our highest, we choose better, we choose different, we keep evolving and growing. But what we don't do is set our whole self aside, because that's the self that God made. And behind it, there's a pattern of the capital S. So I love that. That's pretty awesome. The final quote here, because this is what it's all about. There's a simple wonder, right? We just need to recognize the simple wonder of being alive and being a part of life and saying an unconditional yes to being fully present at this moment of our transition through this life. And then through this yes, we open ourselves to what life needs. We surrender and we say yes. So with this, the final part, though, is that we definitely came here with an idea, a higher idea of who we really are. But what we don't want is to get caught up into the conditioned everyday fears, worries. Perseveration, I heard that word lately. It's a pretty good word. We don't want to overanalyze anything and try to hyper control everything. Because just like our friend from last week, Audra Nicole, she said, the universe has been around a while, has been doing this for a while. 13.8 billion years, if you want to be exact, so far that we know. But the fact that we got into this body through the use of, evolution and procreation, we didn't do any of that. Life has been at it for a while. And for us to think that now that we do inhabit our bodies, that we get to control everything around us, we get to judge what's right, what's wrong, we get to be mad if it doesn't go our way, as if we know what the higher vision is, as if we know what the bigger purpose is of the divine. And we tend to look at things in a very small microcosm of what we think is going on without noticing that there's something bigger going on. There's a plan bigger than what we could even know. And yet we still choose and we still have volition and we still get to be ourselves within this bigger idea of who we are as humanity. And so we get to still do all the things we dream of doing, but we don't have to worry ourselves with controlling exactly the way everything unfolds. So we don't want to react harshly or quickly when we see something that didn't go our way. It could be part of some bigger plan that is going our way. Why would we interrupt that? So it's very, very good that we do have what it takes to consciously evolve toward our greater yet to be. And whatever we can't control, let's trust that the universe has it covered. Because it does. All right, go with me into prayer. Let me check. No requests except for the general requests for prayer. I just know that everything right here and right now is unfolding perfectly because we are one with the divine. We are not separate from all that is. We are part of all that is. God, the universe, Mother, Father, God, whatever you call it, life itself is living and breathing and moving through us as us. There's no separation. We're not separate from it. And we never could be if we try to be separate from it. So knowing that we are one with the divine and there can be no separation, What a relaxing, wonderful feeling. That everything is unfolding perfectly for the divine highest idea. And that anything that is in our lives right now that is not in vibrational alignment with what we try or what we want to be, that I know right now that our ideas of our higher selves are coming into fruition. And that anything unlike it is simply dissolved because there's no vibrational match anymore. When we start feeling and acting and being from that higher place, anything unlike it falls away effortlessly. That's what it means to surrender. And so I know that each of us is surrendering to our highest good, surrendering to the highest ideas of ourselves, allowing our lives to unfold perfectly in alignment with this highest idea. And that effortlessly, those things that don't work for us, those things that look like sickness, dis-ease, worry, lack of finances, those things no longer appear to be truthful in our lives because they don't fit anymore. And so I'm so grateful and so just blessed to watch the lives of everyone in this spiritual community just get bigger and expand into our greater yet to be. Because that's just how life works. Always bigger, always more, never less of what is true. And so I just accept each and every one of the ideas, the higher ideas of the divine for myself. I accepted each and every one of the higher ideas for every single one of us. I accept it for all of us. And I just know that it is already so. So I release my word into the law, knowing that it's already happening, exciting. I'm excited to watch the unfoldment of it all. And I release. Thank you, God. Thank you, life. And so it is. Amen. And we have Leah.
Thank you so much, Shar. That you can't know how exactly on time that message has been for me. The song is called Drop the Oars.
Drop the oars in the water. Drop the oars in the water. Drop the oars in the water and let go. Drop the oars in the water. Drop the oars in the water and ride with the flow. Drop the oars in the water. Drop the oars in the water. Drop the oars in the water. It's alright. Let go. Drop the oars in the water. Drop the oars in the water. In the water. We enjoy the ride. Drop the oars in the water, children. Drop the oars in the water, children. Drop the oars in the water, it's alright. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Drop the oars in the water, children. Drop the oars in the water, children. Drop the oars in the water, enjoy the ride, and enjoy the ride.
What? That was awesome.
All right. Wow. Oh, wow. I'll tell you what. That was just amazing. So powerful. Charlene, I've got so many notes that I'm dying to share when we get to our Pearl section. Thank you so much, Leah, for that wonderful song. And now it is time to bless the donations that are shared today. At CSL Leesburg, we believe in the law of circulation. And we know for a fact that those who give, receive. When you give to our community, not only do we receive, but we give, we tithe out into the community. And there's just so many ways that your little gift goes on and on and on. So you can see there's so many ways for you to donate. It's easy to find a way by looking at the screen, a way that just works for you. We thank you so much for your support. You keep us going and you help so many others in the process. So let's just take our gift, however you're doing this physically, maybe, or just mentally, place it over your heart and join me as we say our affirmation of oneness. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. And so it is. Now we have a few announcements. So, folks, if you like what you did today, join us on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m., where Charlene does her dream study, and she's joined with a whole bunch of folks. And you heard her mention they always have such a great discussion. You can explore your dreams, and sometimes it's fun to get somebody else helping you interpret the messages that you're receiving while you dream. And on Wednesday nights, this has been such a blessing. We say at the end of service, you heard me mention it, that we have pearls. We share our pearls. What are those little jewels from today's service or music that just really resonated and spoke to your heart? So on Wednesday nights, we come back together and we dive a little deeper. We go a little deeper searching for those pearls. And folks, this is just a fun time to check in midweek, get together, share how the message of this today's service is showing up in your life, how you're making it part of your spiritual practice. And it's just a really nice midweek check-in with folks from our community. So consider joining us on Wednesday nights at 7. And yeah, we're getting closer. You know, it hit me as I turned the calendar over to December. Next month is January, and there's a new year, and you might be making New Year's resolutions, and it's a great time to explore the topic of our class, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. You can just sign up on our website, go to the information that you see on the screen and look for classes. And I'm teaching that class, and I am so excited about that. I know we're going to have a lot of insight and great discussion. Well, folks, all too soon, it seems like our time together is ending. So let's once again just place our hands over our hearts. You know, I want you to turn on the mics. You know how I feel about this. It's only me and my pups here, and they don't talk a lot. I do all the talking. So let me hear you join me when I say, I am love.
I am love.
So much. And now look at somebody near you, or just look at the screen and say, you are love.
You are love.
And now join me as we put our hands up in the air. It's our love sprinkles. And remember, folks, it's all love.
It's all love.
Oh, you guys are wonderful. If you can stay, hang out with us. If you're leaving us, we just wish you a blessed day.